Hi guys, Dorothy here at Done by Dorothy, and I thought I would come on today and we would do a little bit more with our fiber texture paste that we made. I wanted to show you guys some things about coloring, so I have a little bit of a mess on my area right now trying to get everything in here. Let me move this out of the way for right now, but we will need that in a little bit. So we do have our texture paste. I will tell you right now, we're going to be using the LDRS, if you can see LDRS Creative. This one is called Bits and Bob's Growing Garden, and it's just all kinds of really cute little stamps. I will link them in the box below. They have awesome stamps. Their dies are magnificent, and they run extremely good sales sometimes, so I'll be sure that I link them. But I'm going to be using this, one of their sayings, and the one little tree. So first off, let me grab my sponge, and since I've been working with walnut stain for Tim Holtz Distress ink, I'm going to ink my thing up, and I'll just show you that this does take ink fairly well. Of course, it's textured, so you're going to get those white remnants throughout, but it does receive ink and it dries really well. So if you can see that compared to that, there's a big difference. So it takes ink really well. So that's our inked piece. Okay. Now, next off, let me find a smaller piece. I want to use smaller pieces. I don't want to use all of my great big pieces. I'll split this one in half. As you can tear it just like you do paper, but it rips off smaller. Okay. And I have my paint here. This again is the apple bottom, just plain acrylic paint. And that was way too much, but and you can remember we talked about at the intro when I showed you the one that I made with the vintage photo. You can, or I'm sorry, I made it with caramel, but it has the same color as vintage photo. You can add acrylic to it and create just a colored texture base. You know, so this would actually be that solid color. Let me grab my sample that we had. If you remember, we had our brown that I used the caramel paint in, but it's when you do that, everything's brown. There's no mixing and matching. So if you make a large white batch, then you can do multiple colors. So let me grab a piece of paper to slide this on really fast. And I'm not going to dry that. I just wanted to show you that it did, in fact, take the texture paste. Let me wipe up my mat here. I don't want to waste my paint, so I'm going to use this to splotch it up, and you can use that in ephemera of some sort. Because why waste what you can use on something else? And I mean, that just sort of created a nice little greenish page that I can use. So I'm going to set that over here to dry. Let me wipe up the rest of my mess. One of the benefits of working with a glass mat is it wipes up easy. So again, it took that paint really, really well. So let me set this, well, I'm going to set this to the side because let me make sure I dry my brush out really good. Now I'm going to use some of the collage medium. This is the collage medium. I'm going to actually do this on the paper because it gets a little sticky. And this is in vintage photo color. And as you can see, it's going to paint right on. And then we'll have to move it because I don't want it to stick in that spot. And I am, if you can sort of tell, just bouncing my brush tip because I want it to get down in all those cracks and crevices. If you didn't want it to, then you would just brush it across or use, maybe instead of a brush, use a roller, that type of thing. So I'll get that over here so you can see that it does, in fact, take collage medium very well. We're just going to have all kinds of little colors about when we get done. Let me put the lid on this. Okay, so there is that. And again, if I had put that on the bottom, it would have actually stuck to the page. So, but yes, it does take my vintage photo collage medium really well. So there's the differences between those. Now let me set these up here. Okay, one thing that I know someone was asking, let me pull out my archival ink. And this is in black. Do it this way because I always get less mess when I do it this way. And I'm going to ink my stamp up really well. Let me just sort of center this in this little piece right here. And you do have to sort of wiggle and adhere some pressure because, this isn't going to be a flat stamp because you have all that texture. But you can stamp on it. Of course, the texture didn't pick up a lot because of the texture. Now, that's on that side. So if you want to stamp on it because of the texture, I suggest stamping on the part that you have down against your plastic, the more flat side, because you're going to get more surface area. Your stamp is, so you're not going to have those missing parts. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean. Okay. So you have this side, and as you can see, where it's sort of splotchy. Now, if you just want to run text and just sort of give it that look, that works. If you actually want your stamp to be on there, then you want to use the flat side. But it does take stamping. Let me wipe my stamp off because the next thing I'll do is shove my hand in it. Okay, so there's our stamping. Now, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use this piece. And again, I'm inking up my stamp. And again, this is going to add texture, but at the same time, you're not going to get that bumpy texture that you get. This says with true grace and beauty. That's on that side. Now you see how that stamped really good. I'm going to go to the other side. And this is archival ink, so it is waterproof. And sort of wiggle, try to get it in there. And you'll see it just doesn't do well on the textured side. So you either want to spread it really, really thin so it's a nice even coat, or you want to stamp on your back. Again, I just thought I would show you that a second time just in case for those that go, well, maybe it's just the way she stamps. Okay. So let me throw this lid on there. And then we're going to go through this really fast because it's just easy that way. Let me grab my splat box. I am going to use this part that I stamped on. And I'm going to use Forest Moss Distress Spray Stain from Tim Holtz. And I'm going to let that set for a little bit. And then I like going in and dabbing. And as you can see, let me grab another piece of paper because it's a lot easier to see on paper than all on its own. It took the color really good, and your stamp comes right through it. So you can stamp and stain on it. Because this is waterproof, you're fine. Now, if you cover it with acrylic paint, a lot of times, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It just is going to depend. So yeah, that does take that. So it takes that. So let's try some more. I know a lot of people has been making my acrylic ink and my acrylic paint DIY sprays that we've been made, and I do have some new ones coming up. So there will be some more. So this is the emerald green. And as you can see where you have that texture, you do get that white green layer. I mean, obviously you could put a lot more on if you wanted to. I'm actually going to hit this with my rag a little bit because I sort of like having that more of a dimply effect between the white and the green. So there you go. And as you can see that difference between the two. So there's that one. So it does take, and that was the Amsterdam, the acrylic ink. So that leaves us with our true and final test. And I'm going to use a bigger piece for that because I'm going to use several colors to show you how they blend. And this is the Apple Barrel acrylic paint. Now, I will tell you that it will take, I may be able to get it. So that was Clover Fields. This one is Lemon. And these are all the Apple Barrel acrylic paints. And I thought I would do this just sort of as a nice springy color. And this one is Paradise Pink. I just thought a nice spring combo would look cute. Yeah, because I know a lot of people are working on spring type albums. And that's just my thing. I don't know. I do that. I don't know why I dab. But there's your yellow, green, and pink. If you can see. And I mean, in the green, technically, you know, I could spray that if I wanted it a little darker. But it's just a very pastel combo. It would be perfect for like a baby's journal or a springtime journal. And it shows that the texture is just phenomenal. Okay. So let me put that on there. Let me open this up. This is a new bottle. And this is one of the embossing daubers. And it does have a felt tip, so it's sort of, I'm only going to do certain areas. I'm going to wait for the, you sort of wait for it to come out because it's slow coming out because it's new. It's starting to. You do have to hold it down for a little bit to get all of the, and I haven't had mine upside down, so. I'm only going to do part of this because I want to leave some of the white. So I'll put my lid back on. And I'm going to use my Tattered Rose. I should have done that on a piece of paper, but my splat box works. Sorry, I'm putting all my excess back into my jar. I do not want to waste it. You always want to do it on a piece of paper or on something, on a glass mat, because it gets crazy on a glass mat. Okay, move that over there. I'm going to grab my gun. I'm going to put this on a piece of paper. And now when you use, when you're using your embossing glaze on here, you do have to remember that this is made out of glue and, you know, all of that. So it does, you'd soften up when you're applying the heat to it. So you just have to sort of be careful of that. Okay. And hopefully, as soon as it cools down, you can see that that glaze does work. I don't know if you can see the shine. Yeah, there you can. You can see it glazes over. So you can give it that shine. So if you did like the gray, you know, or, you know, some of the more metallic colors, you could definitely give a nice metal shine, sort of like a rusty vibe to it if you use like the rust color. You know, just play with it and see what you get. And I mean, you can see that glaze on there. It's nice. So it does take the glaze too, because I know somebody's going to ask that. And I mean, it hardens up even more with the glaze. It gets that really crystal glassy feel to it. So it does take the glaze. So I just thought I would sort of play around with those and, you know, show you the other ones. There are other things. Watercolors, it does take watercolors. It takes like your gelato, slick sticks, anything that paper takes, basically, it will take. I have not tried to coffee or tea dye. Tea dye, I would suggest if you were going to do that, you do that with a spray gun or with a spray bottle, not immersion, because I think it would fall apart because it's sort of delicate. But again, you know, it is really nice. And I mean, that glaze took on there really good. So, you know, that's definitely going to play out in the future some. Although I think, personally, just from experience, this is just a while ago, instead of using my embossing dabber, I would definitely use an ink pad. But if you use an ink pad, you're going to get down in all of those little crevices too. So you sort of have to wager, you know, what you want to do. But I just thought I'd come on and sort of share, you know, the coloring of those and how it worked and just give you a little feel for it. So thanks for tuning in. I know it was a short video. We will be back again on Wednesday live at 8:30. So, you know, make sure you tune in for that, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.